All right, we're ready. We're ready to roll up in here. Yeah, he is. Okay. You toot for us, please? I don't know what that means. Anyway, as I said, because we're ignoring gross and weird questions, we're going to talk about John Wayne Gacy today. Because, why not? Hey, stop barking! It's not necessary! Okay, so starting off, John Wayne Gacy was born on March 17th, 1942. He was an American serial killer and pederast who raped, tortured, and murdered at least 33 young men and boys under 90. Again, I don't know what that means. Gacy regularly performed at children's hospitals and charitable events as Pogo or Patches the Clown, and this was how he came to obtain the Killer Clown moniker. Gacy committed all of his murders inside his ranch house near Norridge, a village in Norwood Park Township in Chicago, Illinois. His typical MO was that he would lure a victim to his home and dupe him into... Yep, that's going to get you blocked. We don't do that here. Sorry, I won't tolerate disrespect of victims or anyone else in my lives or chats or videos or comments or page. So, anyway, he would lure a victim to his home and dupe him into donning handcuffs on the pretext of demonstrating a magic trick. He would then rape and torture his captive before killing him by either asphyxiation or strangulation with a garrote. 26 victims were buried in the crawl space of his home, and 3 others were buried elsewhere on his property, and yet 4 others were discarded in the Des Plaines River. Thank you for the likes. I have lost my makeup towel. There it is. Gacy was convicted of the sodomy of a teenage boy in Waterloo, Iowa in 1968. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison, but served only 18 months, because, you know, that's our American justice system at work there. He murdered the first victim in 1972, but murdered twice more by the end of 1975, and murdered at least 30 subsequent victims after his divorce from his second wife in 1976. The investigation into the disappearance of the Des Plaines teenager Robert Pice led to Gacy's arrest on December 21st, 1978. His conviction for 33 murders by one individual then covered the most homicides in United States legal history. Gacy was sentenced to death on March 13th, 1980. On death row at Menard Correctional Center, he spent much of his time painting. Thank you for the follow. The Hello Kitty case, if you send that to my messages, I will definitely look into it. So, like, I think that's since been surpassed, the whole having the most murders in America or whatever. But to continue our story, I've got a lot of notes to get through. I have like 12 pages of notes, just so you know. He was executed by lethal injection at Stateville Correctional Center on May 10th, 1994. Gacy's father was an auto repair machinist and World War I veteran, and his mother was as a homemaker. Gacy was close to his mother and 2 sisters, but endured a difficult relationship with his father, an alcoholic who was physically abusive to his family. His father also belittled him, calling him dumb and stupid and comparing him unfavorably with his sisters. This is said to be kind of what made Gacy into a serial killer. Hello from Texas. Hello, Sean. Thank you for the follow. Hello, Brit Bear. Can't speak English. Gacy's earliest childhood memory was of his father beating him with a leather belt for accidentally disarranging components of a car engine he had assembled. His mother tried to shield her son from his father's abuse, which only resulted in accusations that he was a sissy and a mama's boy who would probably grow up queer. In 1949, Gacy's father was informed that his son and another boy had been caught sexually fondling a young girl. His father whipped him with a razor strap as punishment. Now, I did not know what a razor strap was, so I had my wife look it up, and it's like a really like thin strap that often was used back in those days, the 40s and 50s, for punishment of children. So not right. Definitely not something I encourage. And that's probably why John turned out the way John did. The same year, a family friend and contractor would sometimes molest Gacy in his truck. Gacy never told his father about this, afraid that his father would blame him and tell him that it was his fault for being queer. Gacy was diagnosed with a heart condition in his early years of life. During the 4th grade, he began to experience blackouts. He was hospitalized on occasion because of these episodes, and also in 1957 for a burst appendix. His father openly accused him of faking the condition as Gacy lay in a hospital bed. I'm not watching Criminal Minds. I'm doing a true crime segment. I've already watched Criminal Minds. I'm on to a new show now. So if I ever go back to that, I'll let you know. We can watch it if you want. Gacy's high school friend once witnessed his father emerging drunk from the basement to begin belittling, then hitting his son for no apparent reason. Gacy's mother attempted to intervene as her son simply put up his hands to defend himself. According to the friend, Gacy never struck his father back during any altercations. I feel like if he didn't fight back, then it must be like one of those things where he just feels like he like deserves it or something. I don't know. Like, I mean, that's how some abused wives get. You know, they don't fight back because they feel that they deserve the abuse that they're enduring. And that's really freaking sad. He left home and moved to Las Vegas, Nevada, where he found work within an ambulance service before he transferred to work as an attendant at Palm Mortuary. Gacy later confessed that one evening, while alone, he had clambered into the coffin of a deceased teenage male, embracing and caressing the body before experiencing a sense of shock. Later finding out that this was his first orgasm. Kind of weird, John. We're getting weird now. In March of 1963, he became engaged to Marilyn Myers, a co-worker at the Nunn-Bush Shoe Company in Springfield, Illinois. Yeah, he worked at a shoe company. Like, he did a little bit of everything, but, like, it's insane what I was able to find on him. There was so much more to find on him than, surprisingly, like, Ted Bundy or Ted Bundy's victims or any of that, so Gacy joined the local JCs and worked tirelessly for them, being named key man in April of 1964. That same year, he had his second homosexual experience. According to Gacy, after one of his colleagues in the Springfield JCs plied him with drinks and invited him to spend the evening on his sofa. He agreed. The colleague then performed oral sex on him while he was drunk. By 1965, Gacy had risen to the position of vice president of the Springfield JCs. The same year, he was named the third most outstanding JC in the state of Illinois. I don't care who you vote for, but you're not bringing it in here just because you see the gay flag. Sorry. Fuck off. Oh, thank you for the pride flag, Joshua. I really appreciate it. Like I said, we don't do hate here, and I'm not doing it today. Especially right now. Like, I'm trying to do a freaking fucking true crime video, and y'all in here with your hate. I'm not doing it. Sorry. Thank you for the likes. Marilyn's father purchased 3 Kentucky Fried Chickens. Like, when I read this, I was, like, astounded because I was like, he was married to a man who owned KFC? To a woman whose dad owned KFC? Like, that's friggin' intense. I mean, rock on, but still, kind of crazy. Makes you look at KFC a different way now when you eat it. Like, it just makes me look at it differently. The couple moved to Waterloo, Iowa, so Gacy could manage the restaurants there. The offer was very lucrative. Gacy would receive $15,000 per year, the equivalent of $134,550 as of 2022, plus a share of the restaurant's profits. They would also be allowed to live in a home that once belonged to Marilyn's parents. Obviously, they would not be living in it at that time, of course. Thank you for the next... Oh, wow, thank you for all the pride flags. That's so sweet. Marilyn's father purchased he opened a club in the basement where his employees could drink alcohol and play pool. Although Gacy employed teenagers of both sexes at his restaurants, he socialized only with the young men. Mia, stop. Gacy gave many of them alcohol before he made sexual advances, and if they rebuffed him, he would claim it was a joke or a test of their morals. Happy Pride Month to you too, Joshua. Gacy's wife gave birth to a son in February 1966 and a daughter in March of 1967. When Gacy's father visited in 1966, he privately apologized for the physical and emotional abuse he had inflicted throughout his son's childhood and adolescence before happily saying, "Son, I was wrong about you," as he shook Gacy's hand. Like, I don't think that would make me feel better about you abusing me. Oh, I was wrong about you, but you know what? You're only good because, I fucked you up. If somebody said that to me, I would be like, bitch, get out of here. In Waterloo, Gacy joined the local JC's chapter, and at meetings, Gacy often provided fried chicken and insisted on being called Colonel. He and other Waterloo JCs were also deeply involved in wife swapping, prostitution, pornography, and drug use. Now, I could not find any more about this, whether or not the pornography part was like creating it or just watching it. I really couldn't find any more information on that. So I don't really have any answers when it comes to that one. In August of 1967, Gacy sexually assaulted 15-year-old Donald Voorhees, the son of a fellow JC. Now, I'm just going to tell you this right off the bat. I do not call the victims by their last names like most research does, because I feel like that dehumanizes them. I'll call Gacy all day long because, he's a piece of shit and he doesn't deserve my respect. But the victims, I think, deserve to be acknowledged by their first names. It's just how I feel about it. Gacy lured Donald to his house upon the promise of showing him heterosexual stag films, regularly played at JC events. Stag films are like old school porn, basically. That's what they were. Gacy plied Donald with alcohol, allowed him to watch a stag movie, then persuaded him to engage in mutual oral sex, adding, "You have to have sex with a man before you start having sex with women." I understood the assignment. I'm just kidding. Over the following months, sorry, I threw a little comedic relief there for you. Over the following months, Gacy similarly abused several other youths, including one whom he encouraged to have sex with his own wife, before blackmailing him into performing oral sex on him. Gacy tricked several teenagers into believing he was commissioned to conduct homosexual experiments in the interest of scientific research and paid them up to $50 each. It's crazy. Like, I would not... No. Not for $50. I mean, like, you gotta understand, this is, like, in the 60s, so, like, $50 back then was, like, a lot of money to kids, especially, like, young kids who are just, like, trying to buy the first car, or have a girlfriend, and want to take her out on a date. $50 was a lot of money. It got you a lot back then. It wouldn't get you shit now, but it got you a lot back then. In March of 1968, Donald reported to his father that Gacy had sexually assaulted him. Voorhees Sr. immediately informed the police, who arrested Gacy and charged him with oral sodomy and attempted sodomy on 16-year-old Edward Lynch. Now, he was just randomly brought up. I really couldn't find anything more about him. I mean, I guess he was not, unfortunately, to the people who make these pages on Wikipedia, I guess he was probably not considered as important as the ones who were actually, deceased, but, which is sad, because, I mean, he's a 16-year-old kid, and he deserves, be acknowledged for what he went through, but I really could not find any more information about him. Gacy denied the charges and was given a polygraph test and ultimately failed. August 30th, 1968, Gacy persuaded one of his employees, 18-year-old Russell Schroeder, to physically assault Voorhees in an effort to discourage the boy from testifying against him. So basically, Russell was, like, paid, like the mafia would send somebody after you. That's basically what Russell was. Russell was the muscle to make sure that Donald did not go through with his testimony, which... he used a kid, so, like, if the kid is harassed enough by the police, the kid is gonna cave and be like, well, my boss told me to do it. Like, you clearly did not think this through, John. On November 7th, he pleaded guilty to one count of sodomy in relation to Donald, but not guilty to the charges related to other youths. He was convicted on December 3rd and sentenced to 10 years. That same day, Gacy's wife petitioned for divorce, rock on, you go, Maryland, requesting she be awarded the couple's home, property, and custody of their 2 children, as well as alimony. The court ruled in her favor, and the divorce was finalized on September 18th, 1969. Gacy never saw his first wife or children again. Now, this kills me because, I do a lot of research for these segments because I want to, make sure I'm presenting all the proper facts. I look at books, I look at Wikipedia, I look at other websites that have, good research on them. And I see a lot of, comments on comment boards like, oh my God, she could have at least let him see his children. And I'm like, no. How are we just going to overlook the fact that this man murdered 33 men and children, boys, 17, 16, 15, 14 years old, and be like, she should have let him see his children? Maryland did the right thing. Rock on, Maryland. You are the real MVP here. Because he should never have been allowed to see his children. And God knows if he had been around while his children were growing up, he very well could have done something to one of them. Not cool. On Christmas Day in 1969, Gacy's father died from cirrhosis of the liver, which, is fair. He was a chronic alcoholic. Big time alcoholic. He was... when informed of his father's death, Gacy collapsed to the floor sobbing, which I found very weird because, most children are not really super attached to the parent that abuses them all the time. But I guess Gacy, all he ever wanted in, his whole life was his father's approval. So when he got married the first time, he was like, okay, cool, my dad will love me now. And, that's really fucking sad. I'm not saying that I have sympathy for Gacy because Gacy's a piece of shit, and I stand by my statement of this. But it is very sad to think of somebody that young having, issues where they just want to be, loved, and they want to be acknowledged and accepted. And Gacy's dad just did not give him that. And sometimes it makes me wonder, if they had received the love and affection that they needed as children and not been in, abused situations, is there, a chance that they might have not been a serial killer? You know what I mean? Let me know if you think I'm wrong here, but I feel like there's just, so many factors that go into making a serial killer, except in the case of Ted Bundy, because we all know Ted Bundy lied about pretty much everything. He was not as abused as he was made out to seem. His own mother even said that he was a liar. His mom could have been lying, but he lied about a lot of things, saying, that he wasn't well liked. I did that segment last week, so you all know, what I'm saying, saying that he didn't have any friends in high school and he preferred to keep to himself, when in reality, the high school kids that he went to school with were like, oh no, he was really well liked, and it was just sad. Gacy was granted parole with 12 months probation on June 18th of 1970. Conditions of his parole included that Gacy relocated to Chicago to live with his mother, and that he must observe a 10 p.m. curfew. On February 12th of 1971, Gacy was charged with sexually assaulting a teenage boy who claimed that he had lured him into his car at the Greyhound bus terminal and driven him to his home, where he attempted to force the boy into having sex. The court dismissed this complaint when the boy failed to appear. Now, I'm just going to be direct with you. I am going to say a lot of things in relation to the Chicago police because they fucked up multiple times. There's just no nice way to put it. They just repeatedly fucked shit up. They had so many opportunities to stop Gacy before it got any further than it did. And they were just like, no. That's basically how that went. No. And that's fucked up if you ask me. Anyway, on June 22nd, Gacy was arrested and charged with aggravated sexual battery and reckless conduct. The arrest was in response to a complaint filed by a youth who claimed that Gacy had flashed his sheriff's badge, lured him into his car, and forced him to perform oral sex. These charges were dropped after the complainant attempted to blackmail Gacy. Now, that is not even the police's fault. They tried to get him here, but the victim, you know, with blackmailing, which I kind of can understand. Like, I mean, a little bit of, because, like, you just want somebody to, like, pay for what they did to you. And I can fully understand that, but maybe, like, blackmail wasn't the way to go. Maybe, like, a civil suit. No victim blaming, though, because who knows what goes through their head when this happened, you know? I wasn't there. The Iowa Board of Parole did not learn of these incidences, and 8 months later in October, his parole ended. The following month, records of Gacy's previous criminal convictions were sealed. And see, to me, this is where Iowa fucked up, because he was not a minor, and there was absolutely no reason that his previous conviction record should have been sealed or erased or expunged, because it's sexual assault of a child. A child. Like, how do you just get away with that? And then Iowa was like, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to erase your record and give you a chance at a good life, because you're an upstanding citizen and you totally deserve it. That's basically how I feel like Iowa was in this whole thing. In August of 1971, he became engaged to Carol Huff. Now, this is from Wikipedia. Now, the book that I checked out of the library and other research I found states her name as Kathy Hull. So I'm not entirely sure which one is her real name. I cannot 100% verify that for you. And they were married on July 1st, 1972. Like, I even put her into, like, Find a Grave. I mean, maybe she's still alive. I very much doubt that. But I could not confirm. What does gay mean? What? Anyway, you know what gay means. You're just being a dick. Anyway, we're gonna move on. By 1975, Gacy told his wife that he was bisexual. After the couple had sex on Mother's Day that year, he informed her this would be the last time they would ever have sex. And he kept his word. Carol observed Gacy bringing teenage boys into his garage in the early hours and also found gay pornography and men's wallets and identification inside the house. When she confronted Gacy about who these items belonged to, he informed her that it was none of her business. Okay, we're just gonna block you because I feel like you're here just to cause trouble and you're not interrupting my segment with your stupid questions about what does gay mean when we both know you know exactly what it means. In October 1975, Carol asked Gacy for a divorce. He agreed to his wife's request, although by mutual consent, she continued to live at the house until February 1976, when she and her daughters moved into their own apartment. 1 month later, on March 2nd, the Gacy's divorce, decreed upon the false grounds of Gacy's infidelity with women, was finalized. So basically, that's like a really fancy way of saying they lied about why they wanted the divorce and saying that Gacy was cheating with other women, which was not the case. He just wasn't sleeping with his wife. But, I mean, you know, Carol or Kathy, whatever her name may be, I think, you know, smart. She got the fuck out. She got the fuck out. And she should have. 100%. Give me just a second. I'm going to do eyeliner real quick. And I can't, like, talk and look at my notes and do eyeliner at the same time. It's too hard. On July 26, 1976, Gacy picked up 18-year-old David Cram as he hitchhiked. Gacy offered him a job. Sorry, my wife texted at the same time. Gacy offered him a job and he began working the same evening. On August 21st, David moved into his house. They had several drinks to celebrate his 19th birthday with Gacy dressed as Pogo the Clown. He attempted to rape him, and David moved out October 5th and left PDM, which is what Gacy was currently working for. He did continue to work for Gacy off and on for the next 2 years, and honestly, I feel like David just got lucky. Like, Gacy had not hit into his, like, killing mode quite just yet, so I really feel like he just got lucky. He got very, very lucky. I know that sounds horrible, but After David moved out, Michael Rossi, 18, moved in. Rossi had worked for PDM since May 1976. He lived with Gacy until April 1977. Rossi sometimes assisted Gacy in clowning at grand openings of businesses. Gacy is Pogo and Rossi is Patches. I don't like clowns anyway, but I feel like Gacy being the killer clown just like seals that for me. We'll never like clowns. Never gonna like clowns. Gacy met and was photographed with the First Lady, Rosalind Carter, on May 6, 1978. The event later became an embarrassment to the United States Secret Service. In the pictures, Gacy is wearing an S pin indicating a person given special clearance. Yeah. And this is why Iowa should not have sealed his records. Just saying. Iowa, you fucked up. You fucked up big. Because if his records hadn't been sealed, he wouldn't have gotten his special clearance. Anyway, Gacy murdered at least 33 young men and boys and buried 26 of them in the crawl space of his house. His victims included